Hello, friends. Today we are getting this webinar with the help of the High Voltage Club. Innovation starts with us. This is their tagline, and probably all of us going through this pandemic situation. Probably it may help us in developing so many things. This is a webinar series which is started by this club, and I congratulate to this all the members, and I also congratulate to the people those who are involved in this lecture. Friends, we are today discussing with the topic that the energy scenario, renewable energy resources, the constraints of our energy production, energy utilization, and the details of renewable energy resources which are available with us. Myself, Professor H.R. Kulkarni, I am taking this opportunity to discuss about the energy part with you. The agenda which I have planned for today's webinar is what is exactly energy, ancient methods of energy generation, types of energy, different type of energy, non-renewable energy sources, renewable energy sources. Then in renewable energy sources, there are solar, wind, hydro, biomass, geothermal, tidal, vagara vagara. There are so many types. We will try to discuss on few points on this. The next part, probably we will try to touch on the energy conservation in India. Uh, Friends, what is energy? The first topic, which probably all of you must be known about, or you might be having some idea about it, that what exactly energy is. We have seen so many times the advertisement that what is energy. Some people says that boost is the secret of energy. I don't want to advertise anything, but what exactly this energy means? We say that I am exhausted today. I don't have any kind of energy remaining with me. I am played a lot, and because of that I don't have energy. So energy can be defined as a ability or a capacity to do the work. Now work, you might be knowing, work done. This work done, if we try to discuss, then work done is nothing but a force into displacement. I am not going towards the physics, but what I am trying to convey you, that if there is one football and you are kicking it in one direction, the football is going towards the goal post of the opposite party. What it says, that work is done. There are, it's a vector quantity, it's a scalar quantity, and when we are discussing all these things, at the time we have to consider that what exactly this ability to do the work should be done, and to get a work done we need a kind of energy. So energy lights our cities, energy powers our vehicles, energy runs machineries in the factory, and there are so many types of energy. Energy can be considered as a chemical energy, can be thermal energy, maybe electrical energy, maybe mechanical energy, pneumatic energy. There are so many type of energies. It warms and cools our homes with the help of, just like we are discussing the thermal energy, it cooks our food. It's a heat energy, plays our music and gives a picture on television set. And we are having nowadays, we are always facing that temperature is rising. We are saying that it's a huge temperature is rising nowadays, so we are using air conditions and all that things. So it works on electrical energy. Friends, this is, there are so many types. This is not the platform where I should discuss about detail in the energy types, what are the different energies. But in ancient era or ancient period, the energy was used with great deal. People were relying on the solar energy, so during the sunny day they used to complete their work, and their strong bodies and bits, they try to use that energy and that energy resources, and then the, say, their day-to-day work was completed. Then when it was going on afterwards, day by day, they understand that yes, on the water we can have a wheels, and the wheel will run on the water because of the pressure of the water. And if we are turning that pedal wheels, wind factor or wind power can be used for transportation, it can be used for irrigation of water. Then the next part, it was that till today, if you go to the some site near Aurangabad, you will find it out that they are using it for a flour mill. So this is the part which they were trying to use. And we this was the very initial phase that people were trying to use the energy. At the same time, people learn to use the chemical energy which is stored in the material like wood. It was used to cook the food. It was used to get heat in the houses. Because see, if you go through the European countries, you will find it out that there is a huge or tremendous cool in these days, and when it is very cold, at that time they have to maintain the temperature. And for maintaining the temperature, they used to have some, say, wooden logs. They are trying to burn that wooden logs, and they are creating heat with the help of that. Nowadays there is certain improvement, they are using radiators, and because of that radiator, again we will say that a heat hot water is moving from that, and then they are getting the heating effect. But finally they are converting that chemical energy into heat energy. Okay, so this was the earlier part. Then the machines and technologies were introduced during the period. And what it was seen that late 18th century, it was found that energy resources should be used, and those energy resources were covered or they were collected with the help of the fossil fuels. What part I am trying to say here, that the improvement was going on, and afterwards they understand that yes, we can have a machines, but if we are having the machines, then we have to use different type of aspects, and then we have to generate it, we have to try to utilize that part, and then we have to get the work done. Okay, now there are major two types of energy: renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Now I will not go in detail of the primary energy, secondary energy. There are different type of energy. Say a classification can be on different parameters, but here we have to discuss about the non-renewable renewable energy sources. So basically we will try to discuss about the renewable energy sources. What exactly the renewable energy? It is the energy obtained from the sources that are essentially exhaustible, such as sun and wind. And non-renewable energy sources, it is energy that comes from the ground, and it is not replaced in the relatively short amount of time. Now see guys, examples we will go ahead in detail about it, but basically people used to use the wooden logs, they used to use the coal. All this is exhaustible. It is said that we can't have a storage of coal which will sustain or which will be carried for more than 200 years. So what will be afterwards? Day by day our energy requirement, our power requirement is increasing, and to fulfill that requirement we need to have certain additional sources, and those sources should not be exhaustible. Otherwise what will happen? That one fine day we will have to purchase energy at any cost, and there will be a differentiation. So this, we will go towards this next slide, considering the major types. I hope you are understanding what exactly the renewable energy and non-renewable energy means. Now, non-renewable energy examples, we can give the power plants using fossil fuels such as coal, petroleum oil, natural gas. All these are the exhaustible. And there is another part which is nuclear energy. It is an example of non-renewable energy. But we can say that we have ample, say, storage of the raw material which is required for the nuclear energy. But still, there are so many risk factors coming into picture, and that's why we are not continuously, or we are not going to increase abruptly the level of nuclear energy generation. Okay, Now, renewable energy, we will come down to our actual part, that what is renewable energy. What is a renewable energy? A renewable energy system converts energy from sunlight, solar, wind, the normal movement or normal flow of wind, then falling of water, it is called as a hydroelectric or hydro generating stations. Then sea waves, we are getting that sea waves is a very common phenomena. Then geothermal heat, geothermal, we are considering that in detail we have to discuss, but we are considering that there is a huge temperature in the say earth, and that temperature can be used for converting water into heat and then into steam. And when you will convert that into steam, that steam can be used to get the rotations from the turbine. And when turbine rotates, that rotation will be again, that is mechanical energy that will be given to the generator. And when it will be given to the generator, synchronous generator, at that time it will try to give you some output that is nothing but a power, that is nothing but energy, and that is called as a geothermal energy. And biomass is nowadays, so many people are aware about the biomass means, again, we are trying to convert the gas, okay, from the west, say agricultural west, and that is used for generation of energy. So these are the different ways: sunlight, wind, hydro, sea waves, geothermal. We are trying to convert this into heat or into electricity. Now, when we are trying to convert it into heat or electricity, there are conversion of energy. Energy, you know that the energy conservation law or the energy universal law of energy, that energy can be converted from one part of energy to the another part of energy. Energy neither be created nor be destroyed, but you can convert it from one form of energy to the another form of energy. Okay, you are trying to convert it into electrical energy, to mechanical energy, to heat energy, to thermal energy, likewise, but your requirement is known to you, and then you are trying to convert it. Okay, now what are the different renewable energies? Renewable energy examples can be listed as solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, biomass, geothermal energy, tidal energy, wave energy, and ocean thermal energy conversion. OTEC it is called as. Now, see, solar energy, all of us are very well known about the solar energy nowadays. Everybody is saying that I am trying to use solar light, we are trying to use, you might have done some work, you might have done some project on the by the IIT Bombay. They have taken some initiative, and from that GGSY, Gandhi Gram Solar Yojana, they have done, and it was very nice project, so that we can have the energy during night period. We can have the say lamps we have used, and so many students have participated in that, I know. Wind energy is a free of cost, it is continuously available to you. The wind has, there are the positive as well as negative part comes into this section, because wind energy is not possible at each and every spot. Okay, so it is having some geographical problems or geographical limitations, we can say. Hydropower is a great, and there are major three types. Now, hydropower, we can have the hydroelectric generators. Now people are moving towards micro hydropowers. Micro hydropowers are very popular, and people are trying to generate energy with the help of that, because it is less, micro hydropower need very less expenses, but the generation is also very small. Then biomass, we have discussed about. Geothermal, we have discussed about. Tidal, I already discussed with you that tidal is tidal energy. In tidal energy, we can say that we are trying to use, or we are trying to use the waves which are coming in and going out. Okay, so this is the part. Within a day, two times it happens. It's a natural phenomena, and two times it happens. It depends on the movement of sun and moon, and then the gravitational force. And because of that, whenever it is moving to and fro, at that time, that water energy, which is a movement, That movement is used, and we are trying to generate energy. That is called as a tidal energy, wave energy, and ocean thermal energy conversion. In these cases, what people are trying to get, that there are difference between the temperature, and when there is a difference between the temperature, the temperature difference can be used for energy generation. And when there is, say, bimetallic strip also, that principal theorem you must have studied in your physics, that bimetallic strip, and when you are trying to have the bimetallic strip, and if there is a different temperature at two ends, then EMF is induced, or EMF is available in between those 2 points. So what we are getting, that ocean thermal energy conversion system uses that principle. Okay, so now we will move towards, one by one we will move towards that part. First one is the solar energy. When we are thinking about that renewable energy sources are in boom nowadays. Sorry. We have our government is constantly, not our government, but it's a global phenomena, that everyone is going for the solar energy, everyone is going for the wind energy. The wind energy generation has increased a lot, the installed capacity has increased a lot, and we can say that India has its own targets. Now, see, there are MNRE is there. There are so many energy sectors, and there are so many energy ministries. Those who are taking care of that, our generation should increase with minimum, with bare minimum part or bare minimum investments. We should get more and more energy, because our requirement is increasing day by day. Our requirement is increasing. And when this government comes, what the first target was, that every house should have energy, every house should have energy. That was their target. So the target which is decided by them, there are two type of targets normally we have to decide in case of energy sectors. We are considering them into goals, that short term goal and long term goal. Okay, so if we consider the short term goal up to 2020, up to the year 2022, it was decided that 175 gigawatt renewable energy capacity we have to generate, or we have to install capacity should increase up to 175 gigawatt. I think it is more than sufficient. Or if we consider that 2022 our requirement will increase, the population is increasing, considering that our requirement will increase, and if our requirements are increasing, then we have to find it out that next, up to 2030, they are considering that 450 gigawatt. 450 gigawatt. Guys, I think it is very visible and it is very clear on your screens that 450 gigawatt is planned up to 2030. Considering, see, here we are not considering the latest or completed, say, plants. The government is saying it is very ambitious, and they are saying that up to 2030 the target will be 520 gigawatt, including the large scale hydro is also included in that. Means solar, hydro, and the wind. There are in some certain cases we have to use solar and wind in combination also, so we are using hybrid plant, that is called as a hybrid. So solar wind hybrid plants are also used, and they are considering that up to 2030 we will have a capacity of 520 gigawatt. This is a great plan, and probably the source for this is MNRE. It is available on the MNRE website, that what are the different plans and how that you will go in details. You can go through the site and you can have all the details. But what I am trying to emphasize, that we have still lacking in energy requirement. We need to develop our energy sources, we need to improve our energy sources. That is the only requirement, and for that, if we are investing the exhaustible manner, then it will of no use. So we are going towards the renewable energy sources. Now, how the solar is working, we have to find it out in details, that how the solar energy we are achieving. So this is the solar energy. Solar power is a promising, it is renewable energy source, and that can be converted into electricity, and it is used in many toys, even in home. It is used in home heating, and nowadays there are different aspects. People are using electric vehicles, and those vehicles are charged with the help of these solar plants. And when it is fully charged, that vehicle is running, the vehicle is electric vehicle, the vehicle which is running, that because of that running motion, the batteries are charged. And in the night time period, when solar is off, no use, because solar can't generate without electricity. I hope you are understanding it. So if this is the situation, then that vehicle which has stored the energy, that energy can be used during the night period. So it is called as a grid to home. Okay, this is called as a grid to home, home to grid, grid to home. There are so many ways how we can use that energy. But solar can generate the energy throughout the day period, and we have ample capacity solar can generate for us. Okay, there are certain restrictions in Indian scenario. If we consider, then there are certain restrictions. We can't go beyond 40%. There are certain rules which we have to follow, because there are say, some constraints, some drawbacks also. So whenever we are trying to utilize this energy, how this energy is achieved, or how electrical energy is achieved with help of this solar power, that we can have, just go through this video.
Solar panels are made up of small units called solar cells. The most common solar cells are made from silicon, a semiconductor that is the second most abundant element on Earth. In a solar cell, crystalline silicon is sandwiched between conducting layers. Each silicon atom is connected to its neighbors by four strong bonds, which keep the electrons in place so no currents can flow. Here's the key. A silicon solar cell uses two types as extra electrons and other types as extra sources of electrons. Here are the two types of cells. Electrons are positive charge or negative charge. Electrons are the only parts of the solar cell, and they all go back to the big. There's nothing to get from them stuff, so solar cells can last for decades. So what's stopping us from being when it comes to power? There are political factors, not to mention businesses that lobby to maintain the status quo. But for now, let's focus on the physical and logistical challenges. And the most obvious of these is that solar energy is unevenly distributed across the planet. Some areas are sunnier than others. It's also inconsistent. Less solar energy is available on cloudy days or at night. to examine how solar panels convert solar energy to electrical energy. Solar panels are made up of smaller units called solar cells. The most common solar cells are made from silicon, a semiconductor that is the second most abundant element on Earth. In a solar cell, crystalline silicon is sandwiched between conductive layers. Each silicon atom is connected to its neighbors by 4 strong bonds, which keep the electrons in place so no current can flow. Here's the key. A silicon solar cell uses 2 different layers of silicon. An N-type silicon has extra electrons, and P-type silicon has extra spaces for electrons, called holes. Where the 2 types of silicon meet, electrons can wander across the p-n junction, leaving a positive charge on one side and creating negative charge on the other. You can think of light as the flow of tiny particles called photons shooting out from the sun. When one of these photons strikes the silicon cell with enough energy, it can knock an electron from its bond, leaving a hole. The negatively charged electron and location of the positively charged hole are now free to move around. But because of the electric field at the p-n junction, they'll only go one way. The electron is drawn to the n side, while the hole is drawn to the p side. The mobile electrons are collected by thin metal fingers at the top of the cell. From there, they flow through an external circuit, doing electrical work like powering a light bulb, before returning through the conductive aluminum sheet on the back. Each silicon cell only puts out half a volt, but you can string them together in modules to get more power. 12 photovoltaic cells are enough to charge a cell phone, while it takes many modules to power an entire house. Electrons are the only moving parts in a solar cell, and they all go back where there are political factors at play, not to mention businesses that lobby to maintain the status quo. But for now, let's focus on the physical and logistical challenges. And the most obvious of those is that solar energy is unevenly distributed across the planet. Some areas are sunnier than others. It's also inconsistent. Less solar energy is available on cloudy days or at night. So a total reliance would require efficient ways to get electricity from sunny spots to cloudy ones, and effective storage of energy. The efficiency of the cell itself is a challenge too. If sunlight is reflected instead of absorbed, or if dislodged electrons fall back into a hole before going through the circuit, that photon's energy is lost. The most efficient solar cell yet still only converts 46% of the available sunlight to electricity, and most commercial systems are currently 15 to 20% efficient. In spite of these limitations, it actually would be possible to power the entire world with today's solar technology. We'd need the funding to build the infrastructure and a good deal of space. Estimates range from tens to hundreds of thousands of square miles, which seems like a lot, but the Sahara Desert alone is over 3 million square miles in area. Meanwhile, solar cells are getting better, cheaper, and are competing with electricity from the grid. And innovations like floating solar farms may change the landscape entirely. Thought experiments aside, there's the fact that over 1 billion people don't have access to a reliable electric grid, especially in developing countries, many of which are sunny. So in places like that, solar energy is already much cheaper and safer than available alternatives like kerosene. For, say, Finland or Seattle, though, effective solar energy may still be a little way off.
So guys, I hope that you understand the solar generation, how we are getting solar energy or electrical energy from the solar energy. As we have seen that it is a bit costly at start, but it has minimum 25 years of life. So if it is having 25 years of life, we can consider that the consumption, if it is proper or if sufficient consumption is there, then around about 3.5 year or 4 year is a return on investment. What it says, I hope all of you understand what is return on investment. Return on investment means, in short, I will try to convey you that it is nothing but the money which you are pouring that will be saved within 3 years or 4 years, 3.5 years or 4 years. This is a simple calculation. The main drawback which is observed in case of solar, that it needs a sunny day. I don't think that it needs a sunny day, but it needs a light. If it is requiring a light, if we can see the person next to you, then energy will be generated. And if it is generating energy in such a way, then we can say that the full requirement with 25 years of service is more than sufficient. But at the same time, the initial investment is bit more considering the other aspects. Second thing, the another part which comes as say demerits, that solar panels don't have that much efficiency. If we consider for 25 years, then within next 5 years, for 5 years, for a range of 5 years, the efficiency may get reduced. But the overall efficiency average, practically what people are presenting, that is around about 19 to 22% is the efficiency for that panel, what it is giving us output, taking a solar and giving electrical output likewise. So these are the things. But at the same time, we have seen that how advantageous it is. It is a free of cost. Once you install it for say around about 4 years, we can consider that at max 5 years. After that, everything will be free of cost to you. Okay. Next part is with the wind energy. Wind energy is also free of cost, as there are drawbacks in case of solar energy, that we may not get it after the sunset. It's probably say up to 5. After 5, we are unable to, in Indian standard time, we are unable to get the energy from the solar cells, or that is not sufficient enough. So wind is a part, but again, already we have discussed that wind cannot be installed, wind plants, wind farms cannot be installed at every place. There are some geographical calculations. There are certain say geographical areas where we can use or where we can install the wind energy. In Maharashtra, there are certain places, one Kusode near Kolhapur. Then we have seen here nearby in Maharashtra, in nearby Nandurbar, we can find it out that Chadvel, there is one area, and a huge plant, huge park is there, and they are generating. Here in Nasik, nearby Nasik, we can say that Sinnar is having a huge park, and they are generating sufficient energy. Okay, so wind power is increasingly being used, as it's a clean source, renewable energy. All these are the clean sources. The turbines harvest wind on wind farms and generate electricity. Definitely, the huge windmill you might have seen, and it is trying to generate the electrical energy. It is rotating so many times. We see that it is rotating at very slow speed. As a student, you might have some questions that, sir, it is rotating at very low speed. And just now, if you go through, say, 10-15 minutes prior, if you have seen, then there was a huge storm. And if a huge wind flow is there, then what will happen? So there are certain controls are possible. We are trying to control that whatever may be the wind flow, at what rate wind mill should rotate, and if it is rotating at what rate, what will be the speed of the generator. I think it is better that all of you go through this video and you try to understand how it will be. It is exciting video, and probably you will get all your questions answered. If not, I am here. You can ask me the questions at any time.
How does a wind turbine work? You've probably seen a wind farm. But do you know how wind force is converted into electrical energy? We are going to show you how a wind turbine works. Each wind turbine has a wind vane at the top that indicates the wind direction. This allows the turbine to rotate on the tower and face the wind. The blades also rotate on their axis for maximum resistance. Wind force, that is, the kinetic energy contained in moving air currents, spins the blades. These are designed to fully capture its energy. They can be as long as 60 meters each and are made of very light and resistant materials for ease of movement. This is why they can produce energy even with very light winds, starting from about 11 kilometers per hour. With very strong winds, above 90 kilometers per hour, the blades are placed in the feathered position and the turbine stops spinning for safety reasons. The blades are attached to the wind turbine through the hub, which is coupled to the low-speed shaft. The low-speed shaft is given this name because it spins at the same speed of the blades, between 7 and 12 revolutions per minute. To produce electricity, it is necessary to increase the turning speed of the low-speed shaft. That is the mission of the gearbox, which raises the speed over 100 times and transfers it to the high-speed shaft. The high-speed shaft, that rotates at up to 1500 revolutions per minute, is connected to a generator. The generator converts the kinetic energy into electricity, a source of energy that is easier to transport and use. The electricity produced in the generator as direct current is conducted through the interior of the tower to the base. There, a converter transforms it into alternating current, which is the most commonly used kind, and a transformer raises the voltage for transport inside the wind farm. From each turbine, alternating current is sent to the substation through underground cables. Here, the voltage is increased again to feed it into the power grid and transported to end consumers. This is how we use the wind to light cities, feed industries, schools or hospitals, or operate our household appliances in a clean and sustainable way. It into alternating current, which is the most commonly used kind, and a transformer raises the voltage for transport inside the wind farm. From each turbine, alternating current is sent to the substation through underground cables. Here, the voltage is increased again to feed it into the power grid and transported to end consumers. This is how we use the wind to light cities, feed industries, schools or hospitals, or
Hello. So here what we have seen that
hydropower.
Hello. Hello. Hydropower. Now the third part we are discussing about the hydropower plant. In hydropower plant, the water is stored. Normally you have seen the dams, and in dam what happens that there are the water storage. That stored water has a kinetic energy with it, and that kinetic energy is used because there are so many types. Hydropower plant has so many types. One is say a mega plant, then middle, which is having bit common capacity, and then there is a micro. We have discussed about hydro that there are 2-3 types, but the situation is that we are trying to use that energy which is available in the water, which is flowing, that is kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy is used. If you must have heard about the Koina plant. Koina is a very great plant. What they have done, that at the center they have one hole, and from that they have taken it towards the downstairs, and that tunnel is there. Through that tunnel the water is flowing like anything, and that it is getting kinetic energy, and that moving water, that is achieving kinetic energy, or it is having kinetic energy. That kinetic energy is used for energy generation, and this is how the hydropower is generated. I hope probably you will get an idea. Here there are certain problems in case of hydropower plant because it needs a continuous maintenance. Second thing, whenever you are having any dam or when you are trying to go for hydropower plant, you need reservoirs. So huge reservoir means you need to the area, that specific area, the capturement or encatchment of the area should be huge, and then it is giving you continuously continuous energy. But the problem is that we have certain limitations, that up to certain level, if the water is stored, then and then it can be used. Otherwise rest is water we need for drinking purpose. Some of the water is reserved for the agriculture purpose. So this is the condition. But nowadays we have a huge dams where we are trying to store the energy, and there are certain areas which are natural sources. In Himachal Pradesh, there are so many natural, say, hydropower plants. Okay, you can have this. You can have a look at this video, then you will understand what exactly the hydropower plant means.
Power. Hydropower, or hydroelectricity, refers to the conversion of energy from flowing water into electricity. It is considered a renewable energy source because the water cycle is constantly renewed by the sun. One of the first uses of hydro energy was for mechanical milling, such as grinding grains. But today, modern hydro plants produce electricity using turbines and generators. The mechanical energy created by moving water spins rotors on a turbine. This turbine is connected to an electromagnetic generator which produces electricity when the turbine spins. There are two main types of hydroelectricity production: dams and run-of-river. Hydro dams utilize the potential energy from dammed water to produce electricity. A dam is a large barrier constructed to raise the level of water and control its flow. The elevation created by the dam creates gravitational force for turning the turbine when water is released. Some dams also contain an additional reservoir at their base where water is stored to be pumped to the higher reservoir for release when electricity is in demand. This is referred to as pumped storage hydro. The second form of hydroelectricity production is run-of-river hydro. Run-of-river still uses turbines and generators, but relies on natural water flow rates of rivers, diverting just a portion of the water through turbines. Because run-of-river hydro is subject to natural water variability, it is more intermittent than dammed hydro. There are various sizes of hydro plants that produce electricity. Large hydro, greater than 30 megawatts, small hydro, 100 kilowatts to 30 megawatts, and micro hydro, less than 100 kilowatts. The Hoover Dam in the United States is a whopping 2,074 megawatts, which is enough to serve 1.3 million people. Of all renewable energy sources, hydropower holds the largest share of worldwide electricity production. Hydropower has several benefits. It is a cost-competitive form of electricity, even though the initial building cost can be high. It is quite reliable compared to other renewable options and pairs well with other sources as it can be used as baseload power. In some cases, dammed reservoirs can also help with flood control and be a reliable water supply for communities. There are also some concerns with hydropower, especially when it comes to large dams. Damming a river has a major impact on the local environment, changing wildlife habitats, blocking fish passage, and often forcing people in riverside communities to move out of their homes. In addition, dam failures can be catastrophic, claiming the lives of those living downstream. Hydro plants are also not completely free of greenhouse gas emissions. As with most forms of energy, carbon dioxide emissions happen during construction, particularly due to the large quantities of cement used, and plant matter in the flooded areas makes methane, another greenhouse gas, as it decays underwater. That's hydropower. Hydropower, or hydroelectricity.
Okay, so I think the hydropower you understand, and probably you may not have anything in your mind that what exactly, how it happens, where it happens. The generation of electrical energy is the main part. Next one is geothermal. I think during starting of my lecture, we have discussed about what exactly the geothermal means and how the geothermal use Earth's natural heat for generation of electricity. We will have just the discussion on that. I hope probably you might be thinking that what it may be. How is it possible that we are generating? There are so many tools available with the help of which you can understand that what exactly or how it is happening. There are even some 3D parts or 3D videos also which you can go through. But here what we are understanding that the geothermal, how it is trying to convert it into electricity, that just you go through this video, probably everything will be clear from your mind.
If you've ever observed an erupting volcano, or the geysers at Yellowstone National Park, you've seen geothermal energy in action. The Earth's crust is made of rocks and water. Deep below that is a layer of hot, molten rock called magma. which is even hotter than the sun's surface. The heat just over 6 miles below the surface contains 50,000 times more energy than all the oil and natural gas resources in the world. Releasing a small amount of that heat in the right way can create electricity. A well drilled a couple of miles deep can capture the rising hot water and steam. That steam spins a turbine, and a generator produces electricity. Geothermal is one of the least explored sources of renewable energy in the US, and most of us probably don't spend much time thinking about it. But since it's a pollution-free, renewable source of energy that's consistently reliable, at least it has been for the past 4.5 billion years, maybe we should.
Yes. So this was about the geothermal energy. You have gone through so many videos and so many generating methods, the renewable energy sources. I got one question here that where is the dynamo located in the hydropower plant? Yes, it's a very good question. See, in the video, what we have seen that wherever the water is moving, that moving water is flowing from one side to another side. Now see, higher reservoir to lower reservoir. It is normally at upper height. From one height to another height, water will flow. Definitely, it will have certain say kinetic energy, and it will have a very high speed. So it will move down. Whenever it is going down, at the time in between there is such an arrangement that one turbine, that the bucket type of turbine. There are so many type of turbines, but one turbine is placed over there. And when this turbine is placed, that turbine is moving because water is moving. That water is moving, so turbine moves. So whatever turbine is moving, that gives you a mechanical energy. There is one shaft on the upper side of that, and that shaft is connected to the generator. And this is exactly what you are saying, that dynamo. I am not getting the dynamo because dynamo is not used there. There is one generator. Synchronous generator is used in case of hydroelectric plant. So hydropower, they uses the synchronous generator, and that synchronous generator is placed exactly near the turbine, exactly on the shaft of the turbine. Whenever we are considering that the turbine is moving, or turbine shaft is moving, at that time the generator is also moving, and when generator is moving, we are getting the motion, and that motion is again giving us the electricity. Now in our next lecture we will discuss in detail that exactly how that motion is converted into electricity, because we have to discuss about synchronous machine, synchronous generator, or the basic principle of motor and generator over there. But now today we will discuss about the next topic now, that is a tidal power, how the tidal power is used. Tidal power is a form of hydropower that converts the energy obtained from tides. Okay, tide is a daily phenomena, it's a natural phenomena, and how that is converted into electricity. You can go through this figure, and from the figure it is very clear that we are trying to get the motion, whatever motion is there, that to and fro motion that tides have, that motion is used, and by any means one rotor is rotating continuously, and whenever the rotor is rotating, that motion of the rotor is used. We can say that the generation because of this may be very small amount, but the generation is at lower cost, and the generation is there in any case, and that is not requiring any condition. It's a natural phenomena, so we don't have to make separately some arrangements from the tide. Tide is daily happening at certain specific time periods, so that is used, and how it is converted, to get a specific idea of that, we can go through this video, and I probably you may get the idea of it.
Tidal power. Tidal power is a form of hydropower that converts the energy from the natural rise and fall of the tides into electricity. Tides are caused by the combined effects of gravitational forces exerted by the moon, the sun, and the rotation of the earth. Tidal plants can only be installed along coastlines. Coastlines often experience 2 high tides and 2 low tides on a daily basis. The difference in water levels must be at least 5 meters high to produce electricity. Tidal electricity can be created from several technologies, the main ones being tidal barrages, tidal fences, and tidal turbines. Tidal barrages are the most efficient tidal energy sources. A tidal barrage is a dam that utilizes the potential energy generated by the change in height between high and low tides. This energy turns a turbine or compresses air, which in turn creates electricity. Tidal fences are turbines that operate like giant turnstiles, whereas tidal turbines are similar to wind turbines, only underwater. In both cases, electricity is generated when the mechanical energy of tidal currents turns turbines connected to a generator. The generator produces electricity. Ocean currents generate relatively more energy than air currents because ocean water is 832 times more dense than air and therefore applies greater force on the turbines. Tidal power is easy to install and renewable, having no direct greenhouse gas emissions and a low environmental impact. Because the ocean's tidal patterns are well understood, tidal energy is a very predictable energy source, making it highly attractive for electrical grid management. This sets it apart from other renewables that can be more unpredictable. However, adoption of tidal technologies has been slow, and so far the amount of power generated using tidal power plants is very small. This is due largely to the very specific site requirements necessary to produce tidal electricity. Additionally, tide cycles do not always match the daily consumption patterns of electricity and therefore do not provide sufficient capacity to satisfy demand. That's tidal power.
Okay, now this was about the tidal power. So all these electricity generations, renewable energy sources, how they are used for generation of electricity that we have seen, probably they may convert it from one part to another part, thermal temperature into heat. It is used for the boiling of the water, and after boiling the water we are trying to get it into electricity. Now generators are used in solar, in wind. Probably the DC part is generated and that DC is converted into AC, and after that conversion of AC we are getting that the AC is given to the grid. Again, grid is nothing but a combination or connection of all the areas where we are trying to supply it with the help of, say, different transmission lines, वगैरह वगैरह. But if we are generating all this energy, still is there any other way available that we can have the energy generation? Yes. Now, what I am using the words, please be cautious about it, because I think I am not wrong. Because if I have to generate the electricity, all these measures we have seen, every point we need some additional investment. If we are going for solar, we have to use the solar panels, the area covered by that, and then we have to manage all those things. Then we have to use inverter, we have to use converters, and then we have to use, if we are trying to use it as a, say, off grid, then we have to store the energy. In case of wind also, we have to have some investment in the windmill. It's a huge investment. Initial investment is very large. In case of hydro, we have to have a dam, which needs a great part. Or what we can say that everywhere the need of consumption or the need of investment is there. Now, consumption is very common. Everybody is going to consume the energy, and you will be astonished to understand that there are so many ways, or there are so many requirement of electrical energy. We are unable to provide electricity 24/7 to the whole India at this stage. In some of the cases, what is happening that few area is under load shedding. There are certain areas where people have not seen the light. Up till now, yes, in last report I have seen that still we have to reach to end to end consumer, and we have to find it out that every area, every city, every village, and every house is available with the electricity, or electricity has reached to that place. This is the requirement. So there is another way also. What we can do, we can conserve the energy. Energy conservation is another topic. No doubt we will discuss it in the next lecture. But what I am saying I want to say that the energy conservation is nothing but the energy generation. Energy conservation can be achieved through efficient use in which energy used is not decreased, but the energy is used in a very proper manner as per only the requirement of the people. That is the thing. Energy conservation also includes prevention of misuse of energy. And for that, there is one bureau that is called as the Bureau of Energy Efficiency for Indian structure. What we are considering that the Bureau of Energy Efficiency has given or has come up with this stage that energy conservation is very important. It should be implemented. And as it was not taken seriously, there is one law in the parliament. They have passed one law, that is the Energy Conservation Act. And the Energy Conservation Act, see guys, if you are conserving 1 unit of energy, I hope that they have given a chance for this webinar. And I take a leave of you. I am very much thankful to all of you that you have listened to me. There were so many questions. Some questions I have answered, some questions still I have to come back. So I will try to answer all those questions through email and all that. I am very much thankful to the organizers, and again I am very much thankful to all of you that you have listened this lecture. Now I take a leave. Thank you very much.